So a buddy of mine been helping out with some arcade projects. He picked up one of these a while back and it was working fine, but he said that one day he was playing it and he was playing it like on a projector and the colors on the projector were going all wonky. And so after that, he tried to play it again and then it just turned off and wouldn't play again. So these are just PCs running in there. And I'm going to check out the PC and what's going on with this and figure out how to get this back up and running. Now I will say that this game is from an arcade cabinet, but the original owner cut it and made it one of those pedestals cabinets, so you can connect it to any TV to play it, which is cool. But to reach the back of the cabinet, you just open this box here, and there you go. I took out all that wiring that wasn't plugged up to anything from there. There's a little inverter to convert it to HDMI there. All the wiring's all over the place. I don't know who did this. This isn't connected to anywhere. I don't know what this is to. Usually this is for the encoders, I think for like the controls probably, but I wouldn't be 100% sure honestly because I've never worked with one of these. But there's a power Putt box there for me. So I'm gonna pretty much just take it out, try to connect it, work on it, and see what's going on. It might even just be this box. I don't know. You know, I'm gonna just start testing things and figure out, hey, what works, what doesn't work. It has a JAMA harness of some sort over here. I don't know what that's for. So there's a lot of things I gotta figure out. All right, guys. So I did a quick just power test to turn it on and see what it does. So it looks like this connects to an LED, which is pretty cool. Lights up, really nice. The power for the converter box to HDMI is working. The strip is working. So those are just kind of quick things to get out of the way. So this is a communicator for JAMA. So this connects to the this encoder of some sorts, and that talks with the trackball and all the stuff connectors, all the other buttons out here. So that's pretty much what that does. That's some kind of global stuff. Who knows what that is? I'm not really too important. This one, I turn it on and off and it doesn't do anything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it out and I'm gonna test the power supply and see if this power supply is any good. Because I turn it on and off and it doesn't do anything, doesn't even come on. So my best guess is gonna be that the power supply is bad on this thing, and that's what's causing all the issues here. Because the guy said that one of the issues that he experienced is that the fact that he played it, it gave him some weird wonky colors, and after that it stopped working. So maybe the power supply was on its way out and gave it the wrong voltages. Who knows? Oh look, blah blah blah. When shipping the CPU system must be shipped in the original shipping box. Blah blah blah. Oh, handle with care. Just a box, just a computer box. Come on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart and see how this thing is set up. Alright guys, so I've taken it apart. I mean, just such a standard type of CPU case here. It has a micro ATX, some RAM, a graphics card, a hard drive, and there's a interesting design for a heat sink there. And a thermal take here, setup. Not sure what CPU is running in there. It's probably Intel of some sort. It says Nighthawk here on the side. I highly suspect that the power supply is dead. I power it on, power supply does nothing, doesn't send power to anything, the fan doesn't come on, no power is coming out any of the USBs or anything like that, no fan spin, no nothing. So if the board was bad, I would highly suspect that, hey, this would at least turn on and, you know, I would hear the fan come on for this, but it's not doing that. So I'm highly thinking that we need to replace this power supply. Now luckily I had this old PC cabinet that I bought back in the early 2010s. You see, still I was using the shrink wrap. I forgot about it. It was in my parents' house for forever, and so they told me about it when I moved in here, and then I brought it here, and it's been in my attic for forever. But I brought it back down, and I remembered it had a power supply, so it has a brand new power supply in it, 500 watt Roswell. But mainly what I need it for is because this has the type of connector that I can use here. Because I don't think this connector is being used anymore. And so I can use this connector to test this board and test this. It has a much bigger fan running on it. This had just a little exhaust fan here running. So this will be a much better power supply that I can stick in there to get this board up and running. Hopefully that's what it is, but from the looks of it, it looks like this power supply is done. And luckily I had a power supply from the same type of era that could fit in here. So let's give this a try. Well, I think I got it up and running. I don't know. It's doing things. It's loading things. This power supply that I had from back in the early 2000s seems to be doing the trick. Now I did have to put my little thing to turn it on manually by myself with the button. Because apparently there's something over here on this side that'll turn it on, which I don't have access to right now because I'm not connected to the actual thing. So but it's working now. A disconnected USB I/O is being detected. Please turn off gain. Restarting all collections are back in place. All right, so I've left the new power supply in there. Everything's good to go. I put the zip ties everywhere. Everything needs to go so I can look as factory as possible. So everything's nice and tidy in the right proper place. So I know this works now. So let's go ahead and put it back on the cabinet and see if we can get it to power up and actually show an image once it's all connected and everything. So let's give that a shot. I was about to finish closing this up, and I remember when I booted it up and I connected it that it was giving me one of those battery errors that wasn't saving time and anything like that. So I went ahead and took off the graphics card and found out it's an MSI graphics card. So it's MSI in all this weird font. Not sure which. It's an NVIDIA graphics card, that's for sure. Wonder what particular version. Let me see. Oh, there it is. NX 8500 GT. There you go, guys. So I figured out what it is. So it's an NVIDIA graphics card. And then under the NVIDIA graphics card, you get access to the battery. Might as well replace that. This is probably an original from the early 2010s or somewhere. So this had to go. Luckily, I always carry spares for my car keys and for my car batteries and all that. So now let's go ahead and put it back. What do you know? It works. Got it on a monitor that doesn't have sound, but there we go. Press start. There we go. We got it back up and running. Alright, so I've got it to power on, but now I'm getting an issue where it resets. And so it'll play the game for a little bit, then it'll freeze up on you, and then it'll say watchdog timer timeout. Now I've gone online to kind of research what that usually means, and it means that there's some system error communicating, either the CPU's being dumb or the RAM's being dumb. Now, I don't think it's the RAM issue. I think maybe it's a CPU issue, or maybe even a graphics card issue. So I don't know if this power supply just messed up something down the road, you know? So I'm gonna have to troubleshoot this PC a little bit more to confirm if that's the case. Unfortunately, I do not have extra, so I'll have to kind of start testing one by one and maybe do a BIOS update and go from there. I'm not 100% sure what's wrong with that. So I've been playing it for about like 5-10 minutes, no problem. But what I do encounter are like random graphical glitches that'll come up. Like the textures will get all weird from time to time. So it might just be the graphics card after all, and not the actual CPU and RAM. So I don't know. It's going to be a little tough one to figure out which part is failing, but it'll work well right now. Like, it wasn't working well for a while there, but now it's stabilized and it's working good. It's like you have to warm it up a bit for it to start working fine, maybe. I'm not sure, but you know, electronics can always be a little weird. They'll work and then stop working, so I'll have to keep testing. It's going to be a while to figure out what the gremlin is. So look what we got in the mail. So you got an MSI NX 8500 GT and 255 megabytes, so the same. Heatsink cooling. So actually this one has been updated to a Zalman cooler here with a fan, so it's an upgrade. Here's a connector for it. Here's a tons of connections. It has this, but that's chopped off. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Bunch of extra connectors, bunch of stuff here. I'm gonna leave that in there from a buddy, but some kind of converter here for the HDMI. I mean, for the, I don't know what this is for USB stuff. I don't know. Here's that. This is a S video cable. This is that special connector for this setup here. So it has TV out if you want to hook up a TV out too for tuner, I guess. And then here's for like all the different connector types, S video, and then the component out. So it's a really interesting cable there with more, looks almost like S video. But this should work. So this is a NX 8500 GT, as you can see back here. But they put like coolers on, they put heat sinks on some of the video on the RAM back here on the back. It's pretty interesting. And on the front, they put the Zalman cooler here. So this is an upgrade if it's going to work here. The caps look good. Everything looks good on here. Everything looks to be set up in order. There's more heat sinks here. So this will be installed. And then it even has HDMI out, I believe. That's HDMI, or at least an early version of it. But we're good to go. Like I said, I had a pretty interesting experience with eBay getting cards for this thing. MSI NX 8500 GT. Well, I mean, what series are we in? The 40 series now? Well, look at that. Back in the 2000s, we were in the 85 series. But one of these arrived dead on arrival, and then the second one finally worked, and it was actually in pretty new shape. So, pretty interesting how they had graphics cards during my teenage years. But that's gonna go back with Chris. I have no use for that. Maybe you can use it for parts, or maybe you can burn it. No idea here. And I ordered 3, and third time was a charm. First one arrived, dead on arrival, wouldn't work. Gave me a bunch more errors in the original card. Second one I ordered, never came. The guy canceled the order like a week later. Third card I ordered, the guy took about a few days to ship it, but he ended up shipping it, and it finally arrived today. Installed it. It's a slightly different version, but it's from the same company, MSI. That one's it's a slightly shorter graphics card. This one's much taller, but it's pretty much the same thing because there's drivers in there that run it. But it's all good. I've left it on for a few hours, no issues. Plays pretty good. When I took apart the heatsink, I realized that all the capacitors are blown. They're all leaky and stuff. So I'm thinking there's probably some board issues with capacitors and some other stuff. But I mean, for the price of getting a new graphics card for like 40-50 bucks online, and then the power supply getting fixed there from the spare parts that I had laying around, now Chris is going to be good to go. I've never worked on this before, but I mean, it's just a PC. It has an I/O board out here. That's the interface that communicates with all the buttons up here, and then it also has the security dongle. The security dongle tells the PC that it can boot because it has a proper firmware or a security chip or whatever the case may be. There's a bunch of extra stuff in there that wasn't used. I'm like, I don't know what that's about. But overall, I mean, it took me 2 weeks to fix it, and it was just mainly just trying to find a working graphics card. But it's now good to go. It's good to go back to Chris's game room, and he can enjoy it again. It's a pretty fun game. It actually plays really well. It's good for friends. You can play a like mini putt and all that. So pretty cool, guys. You guys have a good one.